The massive window of the Stellar Council's observation deck showed nothing but endless stars, each one representing countless possibilities of life and discovery. At his usual spot stood Admiral Gray, his tall, slender frame casting a long shadow across the polished floor. His four eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern, narrowed as they focused on a small blip appearing on the massive display screen before him. "Unknown vessel detected in Sector 7, announced the ship's AI system. The voice was calm, almost musical, but it carried a note of urgency that made the Admiral's scaled skin ripple with concern. The Council's diplomatic vessel, the Starseeker, hung gracefully in space, its crystalline structure gleaming under the light of a distant sun. Inside its command center, Captain Wilson of the Council's First Contact Division straightened his uniform. After 300 years of peaceful expansion, the Council had perfected the art of welcoming new species into their fold. Analysis of the approaching vessel, Wilson asked, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard Council speech. "Sir, it appears to be a primitive exploration vessel. Metal-based construction, chemical propulsion, minimal shielding. Life signs detected, vital organisms, carbon-based." The young officer's report was precise, if somewhat dismissive. Wilson nodded, his head frills expanding slightly in anticipation. Primitive species were always the most fascinating to contact. Their wonder at seeing advanced civilizations for the first time never failed to bring him joy. "Prepare the welcome protocols." Standard approach pattern. The Star Seeker moved forward, its lights pulsing in the universal pattern of peaceful contact. The small exploration vessel continued its approach, making minor course corrections. Its design was odd, blocky, and functional, with none of the elegant curves common to most spacefaring races. "They're not responding to standard greeting frequencies," reported the communications officer. "Wait, they're broadcasting something. Audio only, using electromagnetic waves." A voice crackled through the speakers, clear despite its primitive transmission method. "Unknown vessel, this is the Earth ship Pioneer. We come in peace and friendship from the planet Earth. Please respond." Wilson felt a surge of excitement. A new species, making their first ventures into the cosmic ocean. This was what he lived for. Open a channel, match their transmission type. But before he could send their response, the tactical officer suddenly jumped up. "Captain, their ship just activated some kind of scanning beam. It's probing our defensive systems." Wilson's frills flattened in confusion. This wasn't standard procedure for a primitive vessel. "Are you certain? Their technology shouldn't be capable." "Sir, they're powering up something. Energy readings are spiking." The captain's training kicked in. Countless peaceful first contacts had taught him that miscommunication was the greatest danger in these moments. Raised defensive screens, minimal power. We don't want to appear threatening. Prepare to broadcast in all known frequencies. A bright beam of energy suddenly shot from the Earth ship, hitting the Star Seeker's shields. The beam wasn't particularly powerful, but its very existence was impossible for a ship of that apparent level of technology. The tactical officer, young and nervous, reacted on instinct. His hand slammed down on the defense console. The Star Seeker's automated systems, interpreting the scan and energy beam as hostile actions, responded with a precisely targeted shot. "No," Wilson shouted, but it was too late. The Council ship's energy weapon lanced out, cutting through the primitive vessel's hull like paper. The Earth ship split apart in a silent explosion, its debris scattering across the void. Back on the observation deck, Admiral Gray watched the sensor recordings in horror. "Play it again," he ordered, his voice heavy. Once again, he watched the incident unfold. Something wasn't right. The scan, the energy beam. They spoke of technology far beyond the ship's apparent level. "Sir," his aide approached quietly, "we've analyzed the debris. There's something else." The ship's distress beacon activated before its destruction. It transmitted everything. The entire encounter, all sensor data, our energy signatures, weapons capabilities, everything. The Admiral's scales paled. To where? Based on their course and the signal strength. Earth, sir, their homeworld. Admiral Gray turned back to the window, staring at the endless stars. But now they seemed less like possibilities and more like hiding places for whatever response humanity might send. He had studied enough emerging species to know that the truly dangerous ones were those who disguised their true capabilities. The emergency lights in Earth's military command center cast a red glow across worried faces. The room fell silent as the final moments of the Pioneer's distress signal played out on the main screen. Captain James stood motionless, his weathered face illuminated by the footage of humanity's first contact ending in destruction. "Play it again," he ordered, his voice steady despite the anger burning in his chest. The room watched once more as the alien ship fired without provocation, their fellow humans vanishing in a flash of light. The Pioneer's final gift, complete scans of the alien vessel's capabilities, scrolled across a separate screen. General Roberts stepped forward, his boots clicking against the polished floor. "The President has made her decision. We're not starting a war, but we're damn well going to get answers." He turned to James. "That's where you come in, Captain." James nodded, already knowing what was coming. The Tenacity wasn't just any warship, it was humanity's best-kept secret. While the world saw primitive exploration vessels like the Pioneer deep within Earth's shipyards, engineers had been building something far more advanced. "Your ship leaves in 6 hours," Roberts continued. "The Tenacity is ready. We've loaded the experimental shield systems and the new stealth drive. They won't see you coming until you want them to." In the loading bay of Earth's orbital shipyard, the Tenacity waited. Unlike the blocky design of the Pioneer, this ship was sleek and dangerous, its dark hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. The crew was already aboard, hand-picked veterans who had trained together for years. First Officer Miller met James at the airlock. "Engine room reports ready, sir. Shield systems are at full power, and weapons are primed but cold." She fell into step beside him as they walked to the bridge. "The crew's taking this personally. The Pioneer's captain was well known to many of us." "Good," James replied, settling into his command chair. "We're not going out there to start a fight, but they need to understand that destroying one of our ships was a mistake they'll regret." The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency as the Tenacity prepared for launch. Each person knew their role, knew what was at stake. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about showing an advanced alien civilization that humanity wasn't to be underestimated. "Final systems check complete," Miller reported. "Stealth systems engaging. We're invisible to standard sensors." James looked at the image of Earth on his display screen. They had kept their true technological level hidden, sending out seemingly primitive ships while developing their real capabilities in secret. It had been a controversial decision, but after centuries of war and near-extinction events, humanity had learned the value of keeping an ace up their sleeve. "Navigation," James called out. "Plot a course following the Pioneer's last trajectory." "Engineering, bring the quantum drive online. Let's show our new friends what humanity is really capable of." The Tenacity slipped away from Earth like a shadow, its advanced drive system leaving no trace of its passage. The ship's AI calculated the alien vessel's likely course based on the Pioneer's sensor data, plotting an intercept path that would cut through several star systems. "Message from command, sir," the communications officer announced. "They're reminding us of the mission parameters. Find the aliens, demonstrate our capabilities, demand answers about the Pioneer, but avoid warfare if possible." James smiled grimly. The aliens had shown their true nature when they destroyed an apparently harmless exploration vessel. Now it was humanity's turn to reveal their hand, but they would do it their way with precision and purpose rather than blind aggression. "Send response to command," he ordered. Message reads, "Understood. Humanity's first official contact will be professional, measured, and memorable." The Tenacity accelerated to speeds that would have seemed impossible to the aliens who destroyed the Pioneer, its quantum drive bending space in ways their sensors wouldn't understand. In the ship's heart, experimental shield generators hummed with power, ready to demonstrate just how far humanity had really come. "Time to intercept," James asked. "At current speed, 3 days to reach their likely territory, sir," Miller answered. "Our stealth systems should let us observe them well before they know we're there." James nodded, his eyes fixed on the stars ahead. "Perfect. Let's go introduce ourselves properly this time." Admiral Gray paced in front of the massive screen in the Council's central chamber, his scales reflecting the soft blue light of countless data streams. The information flowing before him told a story that made his heart beat faster with growing concern. What they had discovered about humanity in the past 3 days had changed everything. "Show me the Earth transmission intercepts again," he ordered. The AI complied, filling the screen with images and video feeds from humanity's public networks. Wars, natural disasters, plagues, and each time, humans not only survived but emerged stronger. A junior analyst rushed into the chamber, clutching a datapad. "Sir, we've decoded more of their historical records. The humans, they've survived 3 near-extinction events in the past 500 years alone. Each time, they rebuilt and improved their technology." The Admiral's frills twitched, "And we just destroyed one of their ships." He turned to face the gathered council members, their various forms shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "We didn't just make first contact with a primitive species. We attacked a race that has been forged in fire." The main screen shifted to display more intercepted transmissions. Images of human warfare through the ages played out before them, from simple spears to nuclear weapons, from basic gunpowder to antimatter experiments. The council members watched in silence as humanity's military evolution unfolded. "Their public ships, like the one we destroyed, are a deception," Admiral Gray continued. "Look at these engineering schematics our deep scan recovered from their networks. They're working with technologies we barely understand. Some of these designs," he paused, choosing his words carefully, "some of these designs suggest they might be more advanced than us in several key areas." The council leader stood up, his crystalline form catching the light. "Surely you're overreacting, Admiral. They sent out a primitive vessel. Their weapons were basic, their shields non-existent." Before the Admiral could respond, the chamber's alert system activated. A sensor officer's voice filled the room. "Multiple listening posts have gone dark, sir. Something is moving through our territory, but our sensors can't get a lock on it." The council members began talking all at once, their various languages creating a chaos of sound before the translation systems could catch up. Admiral Gray raised his hand for silence, his military training taking over. "Show me the pattern of the disabled listening posts," he ordered. The screen displayed a map of council space, showing a clear line of darkened sensor stations leading directly toward their central systems. "They're coming. And they're using technology we can't even detect properly." The council leader's crystalline form dimmed slightly. "How is this possible? Their ship was so primitive." "Because they wanted us to think they were primitive," Admiral Gray replied, his voice heavy with realization. "While they sent out simple ships for us to see, they were building something else entirely. Something they kept hidden." He turned to face the council. "And now, after we destroyed their vessel, they have a reason to reveal their true capabilities." The sensor officer's voice came through again, more urgent this time. "Sir, we're detecting a new signal. It's everywhere at once. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." A new image appeared on the screen, a ship unlike anything they had seen before. Where their vessels were crystalline and elegant, this ship was dark and sleek, its hull seeming to absorb both light and sensor scans. The message that accompanied the image was simple: "Council vessel that destroyed Earth ship Pioneer. Prepare for contact." Admiral Gray watched the reactions around him: fear, disbelief, anger. But he felt something else: respect. These humans had done what no other species had managed. They had hidden their true nature until they chose to reveal it. "Send word to all military vessels," he ordered. "Do not, Under any circumstances, fire on the human ship. We've already made that mistake once. We won't survive making it twice. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. They had thought they were dealing with primitives taking their first steps into space. Instead, they had provoked a species that had mastered the art of war through countless conflicts and had learned to hide their strength until it was needed. Now that strength was heading straight for them. The Tenacity dropped out of stealth at the edge of the alien fleet's formation, its dark hull finally reflecting the light of nearby stars. On the bridge, Captain James watched calmly as 20 council ships scrambled to respond to their sudden appearance. The alien vessels, beautiful in their crystalline design, moved to surround the human warship. They're charging weapons, Miller reported from her station, her voice steady. All 20 ships. Their energy readings are off the charts. She paused, checking another reading. Sir, they're broadcasting some kind of surrender demand. James smiled slightly. Put it on screen. The alien commander's image appeared. A tall, scaled being with multiple eyes. Human vessel, power down your systems immediately. We wish to resolve this situation peacefully. Peaceful, James replied, his voice carrying across space. Like when you destroyed our unarmed exploration ship. He nodded to his weapons officer. Show them our first trick. The Tenacity's experimental shield system activated, but not in any way the aliens expected. Instead of the standard energy barrier, the shield pulsed outward in a visible wave. It passed through the alien ships harmlessly, but every scanning system it touched went dark. Their targeting systems are blind, Miller reported with satisfaction. They're switching to backup sensors, and those just went dark too. She looked up from her console. We've effectively blinded their entire fleet. The alien commander's image returned, this time with visible concern on his features. How? What have you done to our systems? The same thing you did to our exploration ship. Showed only a fraction of our capabilities. James stood from his chair, facing the screen directly. You thought we were primitive because we chose to appear that way. Let me show you why. The Tenacity moved, its engines pushing it into a maneuver that should have been impossible for a ship its size. It wove between the alien vessels with perfect precision, each movement calculated to demonstrate complete control. The alien ships fired blindly, their energy weapons passing harmlessly through the space where the Tenacity had been moments before. Sir, the engineering officer called out, their weapons can't lock onto us. The quantum field is working exactly as designed. James nodded. This was what they had trained for, showing just enough of their capabilities to make their point without revealing everything. Target the lead ship's propulsion system. Minimal power. Let's show them what a primitive species can do. A single pulse of energy shot from the Tenacity, striking the alien flagship's engine section. The crystalline ship's movement stopped immediately, its engines completely but harmlessly disabled. All ships, James broadcast to the alien fleet. This is Captain James of the Earth warship Tenacity. We could have targeted your life support systems. We could have destroyed your vessels. Instead, we chose to demonstrate our capabilities without causing harm. He paused, letting the message sink in. We want answers about the Pioneer, about why you destroyed an unarmed ship trying to make peaceful contact. The alien commander's response came quickly, his tone notably different. Captain, I am Admiral Gray of the Stellar Council. We made a terrible mistake, one we deeply regret. Would you accept a direct meeting to discuss this situation? James looked at Miller, who nodded slightly. Their scans showed the aliens were being truthful. Their weapons were powering down, their ships backing away to non-threatening positions. Admiral Gray, James replied, we accept. But understand this, the ship you see before you is not our most advanced vessel. It's not even close. We came here not to start a war, but to show you why starting one with us would be a serious mistake. The alien admiral's expression showed clear understanding. In less than 10 minutes, a single human ship had neutralized an entire alien battle group without firing a single deadly shot. The message was clear. Humanity had been holding back, hiding its true capabilities behind a mask of primitive technology. "Your message is received, Captain," Admiral Gray responded. "Perhaps we can start over." This time with both sides showing proper respect for each other's capabilities. James sat back in his command chair. Phase 1 of their mission was complete. They had the Council's attention. Now came the harder part, turning this confrontation into a lasting peace. The meeting never happened. As the Tenacity prepared to dock with the Council flagship, 3 massive warships jumped into the system. Their crystal hulls glowed with weapon energy, and without warning, they opened fire on both the human ship and the Council vessels. Rebel faction. Admiral Gray's voice crackled through the communication system. "Captain James, these are separatists who want war with humanity. They don't speak for the Council." The rebel ship's energy beams splashed harmlessly against the Tenacity's shields, but 2 Council vessels erupted in flames. James watched as the rebel flagships turned to escape, their engines leaving trails of blue fire across space. "They're running," Miller announced, her hands already moving across her console. "Their ships are faster than anything the Council has. They're trying to escape to warn their main fleet." James leaned forward in his chair. "Not today. Navigation, plot their course. Engineering, bring the quantum drive to full power. Let's show them what real speed looks like." The Tenacity's dark hull seemed to stretch for a moment before the ship vanished, reappearing instantly alongside the fleeing rebels. The enemy vessels scattered in 3 different directions, their commanders clearly shocked by the human ship's impossible movement. "They're broadcasting to their fleet," the communications officer reported. "Sending coordinates, weapons data, everything they've seen about us." "Let them," James replied calmly. "Follow the lead ship. Let's give them something worth reporting." The chase led them through a dense asteroid field. The rebel ships weaved between the massive rocks with impressive skill, their crystalline hulls reflecting the light of a dying star. But the Tenacity moved like a shadow, flowing through spaces that seemed too small for a ship its size. "How are they doing that?" One rebel commander's frustrated voice came through on an open channel. "Their maneuvers defy physics." The Tenacity's crews smiled at their stations. The rebel ships were using standard engines, pushing against space to move. The human vessel's quantum drive didn't fight space. It danced with it, using principles the aliens hadn't yet discovered. The chase continued through 3 star systems. The rebel ships tried every trick they knew, diving through gas giants, skimming the surfaces of stars, even attempting to use black holes to break pursuit. The Tenacity stayed with them effortlessly, always just behind, letting them tire themselves out. "Sir," Miller reported, checking her readings, "their engines are starting to overheat. They can't maintain this pace much longer." James nodded. "Time to end this chase. Target their engine cooling systems. Minimal power. Let's bring them to a stop without causing serious damage." The Tenacity fired 3 precisely calculated shots. Each blast passed through the rebel ship's shields as if they weren't there, touching exactly the right spots to safely shut down their engines. The massive warships drifted to a stop, powerless but intact. "Impossible," the rebel leader's voice shook as he spoke. "Our shields are the strongest in known space. How did you bypass them?" "Your shields work on principles we discovered centuries ago," James replied, letting a hint of pride enter his voice. "We've had a long time to figure out their weaknesses." Admiral Gray's voice came through again. He had followed in his flagship, though far behind, due to his ship's slower speed. "Captain James, I've never seen anything like this. 1 ship against 3 of the most advanced rebel warships in the galaxy, and you stopped them without destroying them." "Sometimes the best way to prevent a war is to show why starting one would be pointless," James answered. He turned to his crew. "Send word to Earth. Tell them the rebel faction has been neutralized, and we're ready for real diplomatic talks with the Council." As the Council ships arrived to take the rebels into custody, James watched the scared faces of the enemy commanders on his screen. They had thought humanity would be an easy target, a primitive species they could bully or destroy. Instead, they had found something they didn't expect. A species that had mastered the art of appearing weak while hiding unprecedented strength. The Council's main diplomatic fleet was already on its way, this time coming in peace. But first, Earth had sent a message that nobody in the galaxy would soon forget. Underestimate humanity at your own risk. The Council's grand meeting chamber sparkled like a diamond cave, its crystalline walls reflecting light in rainbow patterns. Captain James stood at the center, his dark uniform a stark contrast to the gleaming surroundings. The Council members sat in elevated seats around him, their various alien forms creating an almost artistic display of galactic diversity. Admiral Gray stood nearby, his scaled form moving restlessly as he acted as both translator and mediator. The chamber was silent except for the soft hum of recording devices capturing every moment of this historic meeting. "We have reviewed the data from your ship's encounter with our forces," the Council leader began, his crystalline body pulsing with light as he spoke, "including your handling of the rebel faction. Your capabilities are unexpected." James touched a small device on his wrist. A hologram appeared in the air, showing the final moments of the Pioneer's destruction. "Before we discuss anything else, I want you to watch this. Not just the destruction of our ship, but what happened in the moments before." The Council members watched intently as the scene played out. This time, the recording showed something they hadn't noticed before. The Pioneer's scan wasn't aggressive at all. It was a standard greeting protocol, matching the exact frequency the Council used themselves. "Your own records will show the same thing," James continued. "The Pioneer wasn't scanning your defenses. It was trying to say hello in your own language. The energy spike your crew detected, that was a friendship signal, modulated to match Council standards." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Admiral Gray stepped forward, his scales shifting color in what James had learned was a sign of deep emotion. "We fired on a ship that was offering friendship. Our automated defense systems misinterpreted their attempt at understanding as an attack." James nodded. "You built your defense systems to react to any scan as a threat because you've never faced real war. Humanity, we had to learn the hard way how to tell the difference between curiosity and aggression." The captain touched his wrist device again. New images filled the air, Earth's history of warfare, but not just the battles. It showed the peace treaties, the alliances formed, the moments when former enemies became friends. "We hid our true capabilities not because we wanted to deceive you, but because we learned through centuries of conflict that showing all your strength at once rarely leads to peace." James looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each Council member. "We wanted to know how you would treat a seemingly weaker species. Your response told us everything we needed to know about your civilization." The Council leader's crystalline form dimmed slightly. "And yet, when you had the power to destroy our ships, to cripple our defenses, you chose restraint. Even with the rebels, you disabled rather than destroyed." "Because that's the hardest lesson humanity learned," James replied. "True strength isn't about having the most powerful weapons. It's about knowing when not to use them." He played one final recording, the Tenacity's entire journey through Council space, showing every instance where they could have attacked, but chose not to. The Council members watched in silence as they realized just how many times the human ship had passed up opportunities for destruction. "We're not here for revenge," James declared. "We're here because we believe the galaxy is big enough for all of us, but only if we understand each other." The Pioneer's crew died trying to establish that understanding. We owe it to them to finish what they started. Admiral Gray translated the captain's words, adding his own observation. "In less than a week, one human ship showed us that they could bypass our best defenses, outmaneuver our fastest ships, and disable our strongest weapons. And then they showed us something even more impressive: mercy." The Council chamber erupted in discussion, hundreds of alien voices mixing together as they debated what they had learned. But James could see in their reactions that the message had been received. Humanity had demonstrated not just their technological superiority, but their wisdom in how they used it. The council leader raised his hands for silence. Captain James, we have much to learn from humanity. Would you be willing to start again? This time with both sides showing their true nature from the beginning. James smiled, reaching into his pocket and pulling out an old, worn piece of metal, a fragment of the Pioneer's hull. That's exactly what our first ship was trying to do. Let's honor their memory by doing it right this time. 1 month after the council meeting, the Tenacity orbited Earth alongside 5 council ships. Their crystalline hulls sparkled in the sunlight, creating beautiful rainbow patterns in the planet's atmosphere. Inside Earth's primary space station, Captain James watched as human and alien engineers worked together, sharing knowledge that would benefit both civilizations. Your quantum drive technology is remarkable, Admiral Gray said, standing beside James at the observation window. Our scientists still can't quite believe how it works. The Admiral's scales had taken on a friendly blue color that James had learned meant genuine happiness. And your crystal matrix computers are unlike anything we've seen, James replied, pointing to where human technicians were carefully studying the council navigation system. Together, we might be able to build something entirely new. The station's main screen showed similar scenes playing out across council space. Human ships, no longer hiding their true capabilities, worked alongside council vessels to track down the remaining rebel forces. The rebels had lost all support after seeing how humanity handled first contact, not with revenge, but with wisdom and strength combined. Miller approached them with a data pad, her face showing barely contained excitement. Sir, the council just approved the memorial design. They're going to build it at the exact spot where we lost the Pioneer. The design appeared on a nearby screen. A massive station shaped like 2 hands reaching toward each other. One hand was human, the other a mix of all council species. In the space between them, the names of the Pioneer's crew would float in holographic form, eternal symbols of the price paid for understanding. We've also finished translating their historical records, Miller continued. It's fascinating. While we were fighting our wars and learning hard lessons, they were building their federation through purely peaceful means. They never had to face the challenges that shaped humanity. James nodded. That was the key discovery. The Council's peaceful history had left them unprepared for species that evolved through conflict. They had built their technology for exploration and cooperation, never imagining they might need it for defense. The rebel leaders' trials begin tomorrow, Admiral Gray mentioned, changing the subject. They still can't believe one human ship managed to catch all 3 of their best warships. His scales rippled with what James now recognized as amusement. Speaking of ships, James said, wait until you see what we're building together. He led them to another window, this one overlooking a massive construction bay. Inside, a new vessel was taking shape, its hull a perfect blend of human stealth technology and Council crystal engineering. The first of the Guardian class, Miller explained proudly. Human quantum drives, Council crystal matrices, and defensive systems designed by both our species. Fast enough to patrol the galaxy, strong enough to keep the peace, but designed to prevent accidents like what happened with the Pioneer. The Admiral's eyes widened at the sight, a perfect symbol of our new partnership. But tell me, Captain, does humanity have any other surprises we should know about? Any other technologies you've kept hidden? James smiled mysteriously. Admiral, if we told you all our secrets at once, what would we have to share over the next 100 years of friendship? The alien commander laughed, a sound like chiming bells. You humans never cease to amaze me. 1 month ago, I thought we had made an enemy that could destroy us. Instead, we found teachers who showed us a better way to maintain peace. Below them, Earth glowed beautifully in the evening light. Ships from a dozen council worlds moved through space alongside human vessels, their crews working together as if they had been allies for years instead of weeks. The Pioneer's sacrifice had led not to war, but to something far more valuable: true understanding between different civilizations. The Pioneer's captain would be proud, Miller said softly, looking at the massive memorial design again. They wanted to say hello to a new species. Instead, they helped unite the entire galaxy. James touched the piece of Pioneer's hull he now wore as a reminder. They taught both sides an important lesson. True strength isn't about having the best weapons or the fastest ships. It's about knowing when to show power and when to offer peace. As if to emphasize his words, the new Guardian ship's crystal hull caught the light of Earth's sun, sending rainbow patterns dancing across space, a perfect blend of human innovation and council beauty, lighting the way toward a future neither species could have achieved alone.